Imagine this, your doctor just told your pregnant wife, "Good news, the baby's still alive," as a punchline, which I'm sure was one of many like that. But that's not a joke, that actually happened. It happened to me. And this energy is exactly why nurses are burning out and leaving the profession every single year. The vibes are just off in hospitals. We spent billions training healthcare workers on what to do and almost nothing on how to be human while doing it. The result, patients are scared, families are furious, and a workforce so emotionally wrecked they're quitting faster than schools can replace them. Now imagine a founder who saw this gap and built an AI simulation platform where nurses can practice the hardest conversations imaginable with a digital patient who reacts to their tone, their body language, even their eye contact, then gives them a full performance breakdown afterwards. Just brutal, honest, repeatable practice at scale. The applications of AI in medicine are endless, and I think it's time we use this opportunity to help the providers perform at their best when we need them the most. Welcome to AI for Founders. I'm Ryan Estes, and today I'm sitting down with Lucas Consoli, co-founder of EmpathEQ. In this conversation, you're going to learn how AI is being used to close the soft skill gap in healthcare, why nursing schools are the Trojan horse into $1 billion health system market, and how an Argentinian entrepreneur with zero connections built a company at the intersection of cinematic storytelling and real-time AI. This one is for founders who want to build in health tech, simulation, or any space where human behavior is the product. Now, the AI for Founders newsletter is where this conversation goes even deeper. Deals, breakdowns, founder playbooks, all of it lands in your inbox every week at aiforfounders.co. If you're serious about building in the AI era, this is the unfair advantage you didn't know you were missing. Go grab it at aiforfounders.co before your competitors do. And if this episode gave you one idea worth keeping, drop us a 5-star review. It takes 10 seconds, and it's the best way to tell the algorithm this show deserves to be heard. And founders, if you want to land on podcasts that actually move the needle for your business, you need Kitcaster. Kitcaster is a premier podcast booking agency that gets you in front of the right audiences, building authority, generating tasks, and telling your story at scale. Skip the cold outreach and the rejection. Let Kitcaster handle the bookings while you handle the building. Learn more at kitcaster.com. That's Kitcaster by Moburst. All right, Lucas, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me. I'm a little bit starstruck right now.
How dare you? Yeah, right. Let's dive right in. Okay, so I'm really excited about your product, largely because the convergence of AI and health and wellness, medical, pharmaceuticals, it's kind of a recurring theme on the show. I feel like there's a lot of unbelievable opportunity coming. And so we'll start with your company, EmpathEQ, which could also be read as EmpathEQ. I like both. But
depends on the co-founder that you're talking to. For me, it's EmpathEQ. My American co-founders would say EmpathEQ.
EmpathEQ. Yeah, either way. Now, the mission of this is to build an AI simulation platform that helps healthcare professionals practice difficult human interactions such as empathy, communication, and de-escalation. So tell me more about the platform.
So I think everything started with the common belief between the co-founders and also our CTO that technology can be used to improve the soft skill gap that it created. And we're working to impact a struggling workforce as nursing that currently has no preparation for these human challenges they confront, right, on a day-to-day. So I can tell you a lot about the problem, but basically our solution today is a simulation platform where you are interacting with a digital patient, a digital person on the other side that interacts with you, that reacts to your verbal, nonverbal, and paraverbal language, and gives you feedback afterwards on how to improve that as well.
Amazing. Now, did you say Australian specifically?
I'm Argentinian.
Argentinian?
Australian, you said? Yeah.
No, oh, I'm sorry. For the products released to America?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put a pin in Argentina because I got lots of questions there. That's somewhere I really want to go, largely because they have a love of beef and barbecue, similar to me. But we'll come back to that. One thing now, it's anecdotally, I have a lot of stories about like having problems with doctors. And, you know, the one of the challenges of the American kind of medical conglomerate as it is it's really hard to become a doctor. And so, and I think that's good. They're put through a lot of rigor, maybe too much, but also means that like the people that make it through all the education, all the training, everything they have to do, they have grit. They're tough. They're, maybe you could say cocky. You could say they're arrogant. Shout out to all my doctors. They listen to this, and every time I trash doctors, they get upset with me. I love you guys, but you know how you are. Now, anecdotally, one story. My wife is pregnant with our first daughter. We're about 6 months along. There's some kind of like issue my wife's having. She just can't stop throwing up. Now, she's also that's kind of how she is. She'll get on a roll and like she'll need like some kind of medication to help her from throwing up. So anyway, we go to the hospital. The doctor comes over. She's like, "Hey, I'm throwing up. What's going on?" He's like, "Well, good news is the baby's still alive." And I was like, "What?" And he starts laughing. He's like, "Haha, just kidding." So no. Like this bedside manner, when we're talking about empathy, there are definitely doctors that this is a major problem. And it could be just gallows humor. You're seeing so much trauma every single day. They got to do something to entertain themselves. But as a patient, like literally, I wanted to fight this guy. I was like, dude, don't even say something like it to my wife. Like it was crazy. So I see the problem firsthand that like training in empathy, communication, de-escalation is a major problem. And where I see kind of like the benefit of AI is we're moving to a place where some of the prescriptory procedures or just like the diagnosis and the therapies are all going to be enhanced by AI, which is going to actually give the patient more time with the doctor, more time for the human element. And this might be a big shift for doctors, largely because I heard a statistic that, doctors only get 13 minutes with the patient on average when they're seeing a patient. So let me know if any of that lands, and maybe I would love to learn a little bit how this platform, a simulation, is helping doctors kind of build on these personal soft skills. This episode is brought to you by a dangerous idea. It's called reading, specifically the AI for Founders newsletter. 47,000 founders strong now, and it's the good stuff. No top 10 AI tools that will change your life written by someone who doesn't ship product. It's just real breakdowns of what's actually working in AI. Who's raised, who failed, who pivoted, and which founders quietly built $1 million in ARR while everyone else was arguing on X. It's written for people building with AI. Every week you get tactical frameworks, unfair advantages, breakdowns of real companies, and the occasional existential question about whether your startup is intelligent or just well-branded. It's free, it's sharp, it might mildly offend your current workflow. Go to aiforfounders.co and subscribe before your competitor does. Because the only thing worse than being replaced by AI is being replaced by a founder who reads. That's the newsletter at aiforfounders.co. Now back to the show.
Amazing. It lands in a very personal spot also, because I had a similar experience, not with my wife or with my mother 2 years ago. She had to be in an induced coma for 2 weeks. And I could see my reactions, my emotions be so dependent on the nurse in charge of that shift. There were some nurses that had zero empathy, and I was just like wanted to just grab them by the neck and say, "What the fuck is going on with my mom? Tell me, give me more information." That they were just like shout out stupid data that I had no way on how to integrate and how to manage. And then there's the other nurse that's totally down to earth, that just brings you calmness, and it's there to like really have ease up your emotions in that moment, right? So we are starting with nurses, not necessarily with clinicians, not with doctors, though I understand completely what you're saying, because I have 2 brother-in-laws that they are surgeons, and they are very similar to the profile that you just described. And every time I talk with someone, they tell me, "Hey, this is amazing for doctors. Why didn't you start there?" The issue starting there, it's twofold. One is that still today, nurses will spend much more time with the patients, right? Like at least in the in the situations in which a patient is in an ER, on an OR, and so there's much more touch points that we can impact there. The second is that the doctors today have little incentives to practice and to become better at this because they have all the power, right? And why would they want to become better? It's like, no, okay, fuck you,
Yeah.
So we still need to get a lot more validation in our product and get more power behind it in order for then go to the doctors and say, hey, X, Y, Z, these are all the metrics and why you will retain better your clients, your patients. And this is why you should be doing this and train with our tool, right? And yeah, maybe I don't know if I answered your question there,
Absolutely.
but what we are seeing is that there is an how you say there's an understanding today that to train behaviors, you need to just train, right? To learn behaviors, you need to train. You cannot read through them. You need to be in a simulation. You need to go into the field and like golfing, right? Someone can tell you 2 hours of how to do the perfect swing, but if you don't go to the driving range and just shoot balls, you will never change that behavior. Similar to communication, right? I can sit here and read and watch all the TED Talks on how to communicate better, but if I don't practice, nothing will land properly. It will not stick. You will not integrate it. So simulations has been used in nursing schools and in medical schools for a long time, but mainly for clinical skills, for everything that it's like hard skills, right? So we saw an opportunity, not because we are very creative, but because the market told us we were working with nursing schools and they kept on telling us, hey, this is our problem, this is our problem. We saw an opportunity to train soft skills because today to train a soft skill, you need to go to get an actor that acts like as a patient, you need to schedule 200 students with one actor once a year for 3 minutes maybe, and just pray to the Lord that that's enough to train them on how to have proper communication with like a patient that is just anxious, or with a family member that wants to know the news of their potentially dying parent or whatever. So yeah, wow. That's where it all started, and that's what we want to impact.
Amazing. So for nurses, this is kind of a role playing where they can log on and there'll be like a patient or a parent of a patient or a loved one, and there's different scenarios basically. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. And so you have everything from a patient, the family member, another nurse, like a charge nurse. You have the clinician also, because it's not only with patients, but it's also between the healthcare providers that there's a lot of friction there. There's a lot of potential burnout being affected by the communication between them as well, right? And miscommunication as well. And so, yes, you log into our platform, you have different scenarios that you can choose from. Depending on the course you're going through, you'll have different scenarios that are assigned to you, maybe for a grade or something of the sort. And then you go through it, you navigate the 7-minute scenario, let's say, and you get a report afterwards that tells you, hey, look at yourself here. You were not paying attention. You were just looking around, and saying, yeah, everything is going to be all right. You should be trying to connect, validating with the patient's emotions, look at their eyes, into the eyes, etc. Like we have a bunch of different metrics there that we can give you feedback on.
Yeah, and as much as I kind of relate to the patient standpoint, I am very empathetic for nurses and like how hard their job is, especially now. I mean, if you look at that whole episode that went down with like Luigi Mangione, and he became kind of a cult hero. And then you have everybody who's a Google doctor now. They're like, oh, you said I need to do this, but Google says I should just rub a crystal on it. So what do you want? Like everybody has like, they're getting attacked kind of from all angles of people in like very heightened emotional states. So I'm very sympathetic. It's a very difficult job. On top of that, a friend of mine, shout out to Katie with JobStream, she was talking about how what a shortage there are of nurses right now because they're getting so burned out, in a way to like deal with big emotions on a daily basis. Some people are talented with that, but most of us, we have to practice, so this seems like a brilliant idea and a great opportunity to come against, some really challenging situations through the role playing. And be able to work that out on an emotional level before you're actually working with people, which are obviously more dynamic and more confusing. So I would love to hear about the tech stack. Like, what are you using to generate these AI actors, and like, how are you starting to program their personalities? How are you creating different scenarios? How have you gone about basically creating the platform itself?
Awesome. Let's go there. But also, if you want to go back to the problem itself, I can give you so many statistics there on how the burn rate of the nurses is just alarming, huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it's not just the problem once they become professionals, but it's the problem even before as well. How we select the students that go into these nursing schools and etc. But yeah, we can go back to that. I'm gonna just first answer your question on the tech stack. So we are working at the edge of technology here because fortunately it's very creative aspect of technology that we're in, because though we leverage AI in a lot of different ways. AI as a video rendering tool in real time is not there yet, right? Like, it will take you 10 seconds to create one still image. So imagine if you want to do like a whole video that is responding to you in real time as a stream, right? It's impossible. So what we are doing, it's a mix between AI and cinematography, in which we pre-record or pre-render a bunch of different potential scenes, micro scenes, that are kind of architectured around a narrative arc that you need to go through that scenario. And we have an orchestrator, an AI, that based on your facial expressions, on what you're saying, how you're saying it, the prosody of how you're saying it, and where you are in this scenario, in this narrative arc, chooses the next scene, right, to play. So if I don't know, if I'm saying something in a positive way and I'm validating your emotions, then the orchestrator will choose something that it reacts to that accordingly, right? While if I say "fuck you," I don't want to listen to you whining, it will just overreact and say, "What? What's happening here?" So I don't know how detailed you want to go into the tech stack, but that's basically how we are manipulating. We have a service provider, an SDK that runs locally to process all the imaging. We then translate also all the audio into text to create a transcript of what is being said, and we get all the signals of your audio, and all of that information is going in a package of data every couple of seconds to our orchestrator to make a decision, basically.
Amazing. So cool, and I could see in the future a personalization, because we all have certain biases. We hate to admit it, but like for me, for example, the sound of like a petulant child crying like makes me like horribly irritated, we'll put it mildly. So I know that if I'm trying to have an empathetic conversation and there's a kid crying right next to it, I'm going to have a very hard problem. So why not go in there and practice in that scenario? You know what I mean? Because it's like kind of like a contemplative or meditation practice. You say, where's the friction? That's where the traction is. You think you're enlightened sitting on the cushion, and then suddenly you have a conversation with your parents. And then you're right back to square one. So, everybody is going to have different triggers and different things that drive them up the wall. And you can almost like start there and be like, okay, here's how I'm going to deal with these situations because I'm guaranteed to do it. And ultimately, not only do I not want to burn out, but I want to thrive in my profession. I want to be really good. And at the end of the day, have a little juice left to go to the gym and do what I need to do. Ultimately. Amazing. I love it. Let's talk about the business a little bit and the economics. So how have you financed the project so far?
So we were lucky enough that one of our co-founders, Alex, shout out to him, he has been very successful in his previous companies, 5 out of 5 exits. So amazing. So he was able to finance the first let's say 5-6 months of this. And last year in November, we closed our pre-seed with some local funds here, really good partners in crime, let's call them, and some really good angels from the ed tech side of things. Right now, we still have the pre-seed open, let's say, for a specific strategic partner that we are waiting for, more from the healthcare side of things. But yeah, that's how we've been financing to date.
Great. How much is closed to date, and then how much are you looking to close to end out the round?
So we have around 600K, and we're looking anything between 150 to 200 more. But again, it's not out of need. It's more to open to a specific strategic partner. That would make sense.
You bet. And talk about that strategic partner. Are you looking for distribution? Are you looking for industry expertise? You looking for giant checkbook?
No, it would be more of the two first, right? Distribution, either that they are a health system maybe themselves, or experience in the world of nursing staffing agencies or health systems or higher ed, particularly in nursing schools. Something of the sort. Okay. Yeah.
And probably one of the most popular sections of our newsletter right now is the Deals Corner, where we post, rounds that are open just for all the investors that listen to the show and read the newsletter. So if you want to include that, I'm happy to do it on the newsletter to find that domain expertise, because, really, when we're talking about going to market now, my buddy Josh talks about you got to have distribution on the cap table, so I think it's really smart the way you're thinking about it. You have to have that expertise, which it sounds like you've got, and then you have to have some way to get to market. So let's talk about that a little bit, of going to market, where you guys are at. How many customers do you have now? Do you have a customer yet, or are you still building?
Well, I want to say one thing there. I believe that in the time that we're living in AI, technical expertise is not the biggest. It's not the biggest resource right now, right? It's this acquisition, this go-to-market. And that's where we have a lot of value from our co-founders, but also where we want to put more emphasis on the cap table, as you're saying. Right now we have, I think, I don't want to lie, between 14 to 16 institutions that are working with us on a day-to-day basis, creating the simulations, giving us feedback on the product, and saying that we want to integrate this either in our higher ed courses or in our distribution and learning side of things on the hospital side. They have not yet paid, and there's a lot of still red tape around integration with them, right? Because of HIPAA compliance, because of accessibility and things like that we already passed the first stress test there. But yeah, our next step is to make them pay, basically. I was talking with one of my dear investors, and I was like, man, I'm a little bit scared. We only hear yeses from the market. Am I being just oblivious out of something? It's like, what's going on? I know this is a huge problem. I know that our product is cool, but why am I just hearing yeses? And he's like, that's a problem. That's clearly a problem, because then you're not pushing enough. Just push them and get them to pay. And say, okay, that's the next step.
Amazing. When you're thinking about pricing, how are you thinking about pricing it? Is it like a usage-based, outcome-based, SaaS subscription with seats? How are you thinking about charging?
It's more of a SaaS subscription with seats. The nursing schools have this institution that is a simulation department that basically is a service provider to all the different colleges inside, and courses inside, and instructors. And so they sit over a big budget, right? Because these simulation centers cost millions. All other VR and digital simulations cost millions as well. And so they could be the ones paying, or could also be the student as let's say, if you put it as a graded part of the grade, you could think about it as a book, right? So depends on who is paying, what's going to be the price point, but it's going to be around like $60 per semester, something like that.
Cool. Amazing. I love that. And then is there kind of a certification at the end with once somebody completes things? I know how much people love a blue ribbon, and a piece of paper with a gold stamp on it.
So right now we're thinking about it as an integration into our existing course, right? That curriculum that already exists in the higher education. So we are not creating any micro credentials over that. But once we start going into health systems, we are already talking with other startups that are doing micro credentials and how to create that blue ribbon. Today it doesn't exist. I think also I would feel bad if we don't have any validation out there to just give blue ribbons that are meaningless, So I think it's coming, but give us one more year, something like that.
You got it. No participation awards. This isn't field day.
No,
they're gonna have to earn it. I like that. Okay, it's time to enter the quantum round. Are you ready?
Oof. Yeah.
All right. So you're from Argentina. How does being from Argentina give you an unfair advantage in business and with this project?
Love that question. I feel maybe this is not just Argentina, it could be more of like developing countries. I feel Argentina particularly creates this entrepreneurial spirit of like go-getters, like just grinding. And there's something in the Argentinian political landscape that we cannot trust any institution. We don't trust institutions, so we cannot trust laws. So we have to create our own laws. We have to create our own moral compass. We have to create our own way of thinking around every problem that we face through childhood onwards, right? So I think it's a muscle that we don't realize that we just develop just by living in a country like that. And then you go out to the world and it's like, man, this is a playground sometimes. In that sense, I feel like that gives me an unfair advantage. And also, just being a little bit cheeky, I think the accent opens some doors. They're like, okay, nice accent,
Well, you got the look too. You look like a soccer player or something.
Yeah, funny you say. This is our local
is
FC.
That your FC? Nice. Of course. Okay, so how about the other side? Where is being from Argentina a disadvantage?
I think sometimes, again, going back to the accent, if they hear an accent, it's like, okay, where are you coming from? It doesn't create validation from the beginning. Like maybe in the first couple of, say, companies I worked for, they were unicorns. One of the few unicorns in Argentina, but not many people know them, right? So I then need to talk about my experience in Europe, my experience in the US, to have a little more validation. I also think that sometimes I'm very emotional, and that's a very Argentinian thing, very Latin American. And in business, you need to be a little more cutthroat in some relationships, right? I cannot be friends with every service providers. So like I have this service provider that I just want to kill sometimes. And I'm like, I should just tell him, like, I'm gonna just catch you off, not pay you shit or whatever, but he's a friend at the same time. It's like, why did you become a friend so quickly?
That's hard for me too. I kind of fall in love with everybody I'm around, so it's like, oh, these are all my buddies. It's like, it can't be, especially with team and staff. I've gotten better, but that's a tough one. That's one thing I appreciate about you, because that means you got a big heart. And we need more of that in business, if you ask me. Obviously immigration and all that kind of stuff has been top of the news. Has it been challenging for you to get work visas or anything in the States?
No, so I'm lucky enough that I came to the States because of my wife. So she's American, and we met in Berlin, Germany, where we lived there for 5 years. I had two companies there, not speaking German at all. So I think that is one of my biggest, proudest things ever.
Amazing.
But she had to come back for her licensing as a psychotherapist. And so we got married early on. So I got a green card that way. So I was lucky enough. Now I have a lot of friends who I play soccer with, that are here even not necessarily entirely legal. I have a friend that just came before the pandemic and couldn't leave. afterwards. And so he had no papers, nothing, and he didn't want to stay here, but he couldn't leave because out of like fear what would happen.
Yeah.
And so right now I feel that I'm lucky enough that I feel safe, but I can see around me, the ripple effects of everything that's going on,
Yeah.
and it brings a lot of anxiety. And if you ask my wife, she is anxious for me. She's like, nah, you cannot go around the streets without your green card with you. It's like, why do I need my green card with me? It's like, I have my license. No, take your green card. Like, okay.
Yeah, and that's disgusting. Honestly, we don't do politics on this show, but like the fact that you have to have your papers, ugh, no, that's not America. This too shall pass. So I wouldn't be worried about it if I was you either. Like we could deal with this in court.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a little settlement check right now, actually. So what's up? Um, okay, if you were entering college now as a freshman, what would you study?
Great question. I thought about this for a bit because I also want to go back maybe to school and study something. So I think AI is changing the landscape a lot. But there's a very clear industry or market or like place where AI cannot go, which is the human side of things. So anything that has to do with understanding humanity, I would prioritize. So I am very curious about human systems, so sociology, political systems, policy making. I think that is something that I would maybe prioritize, or even psychology as well. The mental health pandemic. It's not going to go away because you are talking with an AI chatbot. I think you sent a newsletter, yeah, this week maybe about that OnlyFans artist.
Yeah,
That article was really curious. But yeah, I feel like psychologists, mental health professionals are going to be super needed. They're going to have like a big leverage. And personally, there is a second branch that I'm very interested in, which is the manipulation of the physical world. So, like the engineering in a way, but more like design, the industrial design. That would be super interesting for me. Industrial
yeah,
design for sure.
that would be cool. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I asked everybody that question, and it's interesting the response, but it does seem to be like the humanities is a great place to go. It's like it might be the best time in the world to like study music and poetry
Yeah.
because there's a phenomenological thing that happens in humans when we have that light bulb moment or whatever it is when the hair on the back of your neck stands up and there's an expansion of consciousness that happens usually in a moment, to like find the thing that encourages that in you as kind of like a guiding light and a beacon to kind of send you on your way. It's like I feel like my whole life is chasing that experience.
I love that what you're saying because I think I was giving it from my perspective, but for anyone listening, the main message that I want to give is follow something that you're passionate about because the world moves so fast, but whatever you're passionate about and what you learn about compounds, right? Because you are going to invest your energy in it, you're going to invest your time in it, and I agree totally with you that an AI will never replace that human factor that just creates that goosebump effect, right? I was just in Italy, in Tuscany, and we went to see the David. And it's this huge piece of marble or whatever rock it was, and it's just a person that you're seeing, right? Like they're in time, and you're like, how did he do this?
Yeah,
How did he master this? And it was just time and time that he dedicated for that craft, just out of passion, right? And
totally.
I think those things last. If you do things without passion, if you chase the next $1 million, the next LinkedIn status, the next exit only, that just feels away, in time.
Totally agree. Um, we all love ideas here. I am fascinated with health and AI, health tech. If you were to start another company,
Hmm.
what do you see like would be successful right now? Which is to say, like, is there a product or a category of products that you would love to see brought to market?
So I think value is created where there is like some kind of arbitration, some kind of friction in the market. I see two things happening. One is that um, the cost of developing things or solutions, like personalized solutions, is going down a lot, but not many people are, as your listeners are, so in tune with the latest technology. I still have friends in Argentina that don't even know what Slack is, right? So I think there's still like a 90% of population and 85% maybe of the GDP that can be affected by this personalization of solutions through AI. So I would go into the SMB world, right? Like these small businesses that still are struggling with keeping their accounting, their finances, their operations, and create bespoke solutions for them. I don't have necessarily a good idea top of mind right now. The second thing that I would think of is I always see these kind of movements like waves, right? Like the AI wave is moving the market towards here. Okay, what space is left behind? And there's like empty space that because this whole volume of attention energy went this way. Okay, where is that empty space? What is this about? And I think that's where mental health is right now. So all these entrepreneurs that might be listening to this that we might relate to and talk with, they are using so many AI tools to improve and their work stream, but it's creating for me so much cognitive overload that I think it's affecting already their lives, right? Their mental health. And I feel that there's a big opportunity there in talking their language, the tech design thinking language, bringing the Buddhist side of things, the Zen meditation, the breathing techniques. So if I were to start a business right now, I think it would be more in that side because of my passion as well.
Yeah. Amazing. I know you like to support local food banks there in Cincinnati. You want to give them a shout out and maybe a little information on why that's important to you?
Yeah, great. Yeah, shout out to Cain, CAIN. They're local. It came from the church, but then and a couple of years ago they became like a nonprofit with no affiliations. They do an amazing job here locally, and I just love interacting with them because they are very down to earth organization, very professional, and they have a huge impact there, especially in the Latino community. I don't know why, but the Latino community really is prevalent in the people that need this, right? And I think it's just very grounding for me going even once a month to see these people because all of a sudden you're having interactions with sides of society that you and I don't interact maybe on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's necessary for everyone to have a little more empathy, a little more compassion, a little more understanding for what the world is going through.
Love that. And that's canecincy.org. Now, question about your town. Is Joe Burrow healed up? How's he doing? Is he going to play next year?
I have no idea. I don't follow sports that way. So I'm sorry. I don't understand that question even.
Incredible. Lucas, I could talk to you forever, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut a little bit early. But I want everybody to check out EmpathEQ.ai. Lucas, where's the best place online for people to connect with you personally?
Would be LinkedIn.
Okay.
So Lucas Consoli. That's LucasConsoli. And
Amazing.
you'll see a picture of me with long hair. I don't have that Fabio look anymore.
Oh, what happened? Why'd you cut it?
Stress. I'd say it was a day of stress. I was like, I need to get rid of all this, just
Amazing.
baggage.
Cool. This has been so much fun. Lucas, and I love talking to early stage companies. It's my favorite because, this is where you get to make all the fun decisions, do all the validation, get all the ducks in a row. Will you come back on when you're a little bit further along down the pipeline?
Would love to. I feel like we have a great product and the next step is building a great company, right? Which is much more difficult. So once I have a company, I'll come And yeah, and of course, try to just share my experience.
I would love that. And you had great hair, man. That must have been a tough day. I'm looking at your LinkedIn pic. I'm like, man, I would love to have hair like that. I tried growing my hair out once for about 8 or 9 months, and I just couldn't handle the ridicule from my family. They were trashing me the whole time because my hair grew out, looked like a scarecrow.
There's two secrets to that. One, it was during pandemic, so no one was looking at me. And second, I had a girlfriend, now wife. She took care of it. So that's her hair on me.
Love it. Amazing. Lucas, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. It was amazing. Have a great day.